Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming. As we mentioned last week, I would like to continue tonight with the halachas of Birchas Hatorah, and I would like to begin with an area that we discussed partially last week. I would like to add some halachas and clarification, and also make one modification or correction about something which I said at the very end of the shiur last week. We discussed the idea that if a person says Birchas Hatorah in the morning and then he goes about his day, learning part of the time, doing other things part of the time, so the Birchas Hatorah continue even though he may be involved in work, he may be involved in doing things at which point he wouldn't even be allowed to learn Torah. When he tends to his needs in the restroom and things like that, he can't be learning then, but even so, it's not considered a hefsek for Birchas Hatorah. Then he goes to sleep at night, wakes up the next morning, and then for sure, he has to say Birchas Hatorah again. So the question is, though, what is the mechayev? What is it that obligates him now to say Birchas Hatorah again? Is it merely the fact that it's a new day, and even if he was up all night, as long as it's a new day, he has to say Birchas Hatorah in the morning, or is it the fact that he slept? And is that what's mechayev? So if he doesn't sleep, if he's indeed up during the night, according to the second possibility, he would not be obligated to say Birchas Hatorah in the morning. So this is a suffix. This is a shaila between the Rishonim and shaila Halacha, and therefore we said that if a person is indeed up all night, he shouldn't say Birchas Hatorah on his own. He should get somebody else to be motzi him, or else he'll be yotzi during Birchos Kriya Shema with the bracha of Ava Rabbah. The question is, however, let's say now, this we didn't discuss last week, let's say a person sleeps during the day. The sleeping during the day, is that going to be considered a hefsek for Birchas Hatorah? And is that going to be mechayev him to say Birchas Hatorah over again when he wakes up? Now I'm not talking about a little cat nap, I'm talking about sleeping, lying down in bed, sleeping for at least a half hour, longer, whatever it is, going to sleep intentionally in the same way he sleeps at night, just that it happens to be during the day, and it's probably a lot shorter, but enough to be called the Shinas Keva. So the Mechaber, we're again in Siman Mem Zayin, the Mechaber here is in Sif Yud Aleph. He says, Shinas Keva bayom al mitaso havi hefsek. Mechaber says in the first opinion, sleeping during the day, al mitaso, sleeping in bed, Shinas Kev is a hefsek. You wake up, you have to say Birchas Hatorah over again. V'yesh omrim to lo havi hefsek. Then Mechaber brings a second opinion and says, no, it's not a hefsek. And although typically, if we have what's called a stam and a yesh omrim, the first opinion is just stated unequivocally without not saying some say, it just says it. The first opinion is stated plain. And the second opinion, yesh omrim, typically we would paskin like the first opinion, but here the Mechaber says about the second opinion, v'chein nahagu. The minig is like the second, like the yesh omrim, not to consider it a hefsek, that if you slept during the day, even a Shinas Keva, you would not say Birchas Hatorah when you wake up in the morning. When you wake up during the day. You're sleeping during the day, Shinas Keva, mitaso, and you wake up during the day, you would not say Birchas Hatorah over again. Now, the Mishnah Berurah takes the approach that that's not at all pashut. Not at all pashut that you shouldn't be saying Birchas Hatorah. Bishbur and Sivkan Chafei, he brings from many that say that that one should say Birchas Hatorah. He brings a number of achronim. He brings from the Lechem Chamudos and the Pri Chadash and others, and the El Yorabah b'Shem Harbe Mishonav Achronim. V'chein Kasav Agra. Fill the goat. V'chein Hetek Achayad. Many Chayadim Lalacha. Many Gedolei Aposkim say you should say Birchas Hatorah. So the Mishnah Berurah concludes here that his lashon is one who's somech on all these poskim that he just listed, umevarech lo hifsid. If you make the bracha, you haven't done anything wrong. Lo hifsid. You won't lose out by saying the brachas even during the day when you wake up from a Shinas Keva during the day. That is the maskana of the Mishnah Berurah. And one who learns this Mishnah Berurah would probably walk away with the impression that that's what you should do. I remember asking a Rabbi of mine, many years ago, in Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, Rav Avram Kedarik, and I asked him, probably after learning this Mishnah, I don't remember exactly, but I asked him, should we say Birchas Hatorah during the day after Shinas Keva? So his response was, only if you're a grunnik. I was a young 17-year-old American boy, and I said, what's a grunnik? Didn't know what a grunnik was. A grunnik, one who does like the gra, one who does like the Vilna Gaon. The gra is a grunnik. So only if you're a grunnik. So, okay, meaning to say we're typically not grunniks, maybe in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim, but we Americans were not. And his response was that the practice is not to say. And if you look in the Svarim, that's the way it's brought. Many poskim say in Mitzias not to say Birchas Hatorah if you slept only during the day. The Chazon Ish seem to hold this way strongly. Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach passes this way, and many others, Achrona before them and poskim of their Doris as well. Paskin not to, and that seems to be the standard minhag that we don't say Birchas Hatorah for sleeping during the day. Now, I will mention, I saw in the Sefer Piskei Teshuvos, he brings down from the Shals Teshuvos Heishav Moshe, that he says the following. He says, B'shinas hayom, a person who sleeps during the day, l'chazek hachushim, in order to strengthen himself, is l'man yuchal l'chazek haseichel l'limud haTorah. He wants to refresh himself so he can get up and learn Vayta. Let's say a person who's learning in yeshiva or in Kollel, and he needs to rest during the day, even if it's a Shinas Keva. He needs to lie down for 45 minutes or whatever it is, so that he can refresh himself and be able to learn much better in the afternoon than if he would just push on without taking a nap. So then, lo avi hefsik, because the sleep itself is for the matara of limud haTorah. He's sleeping so that he can learn Vayter. Avalim yashin l'tainug ba'alma. Shinas Keva b'yom havi hefsek. He just took a shlaf because he wanted to l'tainig ba'alma. Then that's a hefsek. Now we know there's a lot in between that. There are people not necessarily sleeping just so that they can learn Vayta. They might be sleeping, especially older people, as they need to rest more and more often. Their sleep is more staggered, and they might need to take a Shinas Keva during the day, not necessarily for the matar specifically of learning, but not l'tainig ba'alma. Anyway, this is what he says. But I thought it was interesting to share that. But l'maisa, it's not how we are knowing. We're typically knowing not to. I will share one other thing. I saw once from the Chavetz Chaim himself. Chavetz Chaim, we know, was Tzaddik Yisad Olam. When the Chavetz Chaim got much older, he sometimes during the day he would tend to doze off. He would sitting or whatever, happens, not uncommon. And whenever that would happen, and he would wake up and realize he was sleeping, he was always very fatigued, very concerned that it shouldn't have been a half hour, shouldn't have passed. So he should get into a shaila epis of having to say Birchas Hatorah. We know the Chavetz Chaim himself in the Mishnah Berurah, it seems to be noted that you should make the brachas. Now, if you just doze off sitting in your chair, an older person that dozed off, even if he dozed off for a half hour, that would not be a Shinas Keva. He didn't mean to sleep at all. He just fell asleep in his chair. So even if you'll paskin that a Shinas Keva during the day requires Birchas Hatorah, that was still more of a, I would say, Milsa de Chasidus of the Yerushalayim of the Chavetz Chaim, that he, there are many other stories of things that he did, how he was knowing above and beyond the halacha, above and beyond what he writes himself in the Mishnah Berurah as klar halacha. This is mutter, and then he was mach. A lot of stories like that. So this is probably in that gather. But in general, we don't make the brachas. However, the Mishnah Berurah brings down the following from Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva says the following: why don't we make the brachas for sleeping during the day? Because we're not certain that sleeping is what's koveya, what requires new bracha. It could be it's just the passage of the night. It could be it's the next day. But it's one or the other, says Rabbi Kiva. It's either the fact that it's the next day or the fact that you slept. So Memela, says Rabbi Kiva, let's say you slept during the day, a Shinas Keva, and then even if you were up all night, the next morning at Avodah Shachar, you have to say Birchas Hatorah, because now you have everything. You have the night passed. Say, well, but I didn't sleep at night, but you slept during the day, so you have the night. The sleep doesn't have to be at Davka during the night, as long as you have both components. You have the passage of the night and you have the Shinas Keva, so you put them together, 2 and 2 equals 4.
So if you would, according to this, what would be the case when you woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you'd be up for the rest of the day? You're not going back to sleep. You said Birchas Hatorah at 2:30 in the morning, and you drove to Orlando, and now you want to learn a little bit. It's 11 o'clock in the afternoon. and make another in the morning.
So the halacha is
You don't
that
think, is there a hidden to find somebody to make a bracha?
is there a hiddur? Well, no, because it says by all the Birchas of Shachar, which are definitely totally on the day, it says you could say them before Amud Shachar. It's before Shadin and Siman Memvav that one who gets up before Amud Shachar is able to say all the Birchas of Shachar, with the possible exception of Hanosin L'Sech Vivina, which unless you heard a Tarnagol, maybe you should wait for Amud Shachar. But other than that, even if it's a din in the next day, once you woke up for the next day and you said them, that takes you through the day. So now, and I do want to get back to that point because that's where I wanted to make a correction I said last week. But just before that, just want to on this Rabbi Kiva Eger though, there's one little, one hitch though, one point which is not so clear based on what we learned last week. We learned last week that when you daven Mariv and you say the bracha of Avas Olam in Mariv, you could be Yotzi Birchas Hatorah with that. So if you did, even if you slept during the day, see this Eitzer B'Kiveger, some use it on Shuas. They say, okay, many people who want to stay up all night for Shuas night learning will take a nap during the day if they can, especially a year when it comes out to be Motzei Shabbos, Shuas Motzei Shabbos. So they sleep during the day, it's Shinas Keva, then they're up all night. They say, okay, I have Rabbi Kiveger, I can make a bracha in the morning. Yeah, but what happened to Mariv? When you daven Mariv, you could be Yotzi Birchas Hatorah then, and it was the Mishnah said it was mashma, even if you weren't mechaven for Birchas Hatorah, it was mashma. True, you had to learn. You had to learn right after davening. We said because Kriya Shema Pashas is not sufficient, but l'chora you should do that, right? There's the person who's making a cheshbon how he's going to conduct himself over Shavuos. L'chora, if he slept during the day, Shinas Keva, he has an opportunity to make Birchas Hatorah now, to be Yotzi Birchas Hatorah and Mara. For sure, he should do that because otherwise you're learning through the whole night with a suffix. You might be Chayv and Birchas Torah, not saying it. You slept the Shnis Keva during the day. You might be Chayv Birchas Torah. Okay, we're not knowing to say it, but you have an opportunity to alleviate the suffix. A father, you should take that opportunity and have kavanah then. So the Rabbi Kiva himself, I think, alludes to this. So this would only help. The Rabbi Kiva's cheshbon will only help if you didn't actually weren't Yotzei Birchas Hatorah Marav because you forgot about it and you didn't learn right afterwards, something like that. But if you did that, you had kavanah Marav, or maybe even if you didn't have kavanah, but you learned right away afterwards, then this Rabbi Kiva wouldn't apply, and you would not be able to say in the morning. There are those that have a fact pick anyway to Rabbi Kiva, but the Mishnah brings it down. Halacha. So if you weren't Yotzei at Marav, that you could do. You could say if you slept during the day, Shinas Keva, and you're up all night, and you weren't Yotzei at Marav, you could say him in the morning. But if you were Yotzei at Marav, you can't. So now, we mentioned last week, and getting back to the point that Rabbi David just mentioned, we mentioned last week that that's only during the day, but if you sleep a Shinas Keva at night, even if you didn't sleep the whole night, you do have to make Birchas. So the Mishnah says then you certainly do. I believe we mentioned that many understand that to be, though, that you at least went to sleep for the night. Meaning you might not have slept the whole night, you might have woken up after a couple hours and you can't fall back asleep, so you stay up. But you went to sleep with the intention that this is my sleep for the night. That's where for sure you would have to make Birchas Hatorah. And in that case, and here's the correction from last week, in that case, if you did make Birchas Hatorah during the night, then even if you end up going back to sleep again at night, when it's still night, you end up going back to sleep, the Mishnah Berurah says in Sif Katan Chav Tes, you do not say them again when you wake up. When you wake up in the morning, again, this is the opposite. I said the name of the Mishnah Berurah the opposite last week, and I apologize. I want to correct that. Mishnah Berurah Sif Katan Chav Tes says you went to sleep. Let's say you went to sleep for the night. You woke up in the middle of the night, and that's it. You said Birchas Hatorah. Then you went back to sleep when it was still nighttime, and you slept the Shinas Keva was still nighttime. When you wake up in the morning, you still do not have to repeat them because he says Mistama your das was to pater until you sleep the following night, not to sleep again during that night, till you sleep the following night. So you would not have to say them over. The Mishnah Berurah says, unless, of course, if you're going to follow my recommendations, that you say Birchas Hatorah for Shinas Keva even during the day. So he says, well, it's not worse than that. When you sleep again, let's say you were up from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. Then you slept again from 3 to 6. So sleeping from 3 to 6 is no worse, is no less of a mechayiv than sleeping in the middle of the afternoon. So if you're going to follow the Mishnah Berurah Mavarich Lohifsid, and you're a Gronik and you make Birchas Hatorah for sleeping during the day, Shinis Keva, then yes, of course you should make the Birchas Hatorah for your second sleep at night, because it's no worse than sleeping during the day. But Mishnah Berurah says that. But if you're not like that, you're not following the sheet of the Gra, and you're not going like the Mishnah Berurah's recommendation, let's call it Hamavarich Lo Hifsid, and rather you're not making Birchas Hatorah during the day, so then you would not have to make Birchas Hatorah a second time in the middle of the night either. Once you made them in the middle of the night, once they work until after the following night's sleep. That's what the Mishnah Berurah says. And I did say, I see somebody, I think Rav Shlomo Schwartz asked last time, I saw in this farm, so some recommend, well, you could have kavana when you make the brachas at 1 a.m, you could have kavana that these brachas should only pater me until I sleep again, Mashinas Kev at night. You could. Typically, we don't put a cap on our brachas. If a bracha is able to last, we let it last as long as it can. But here it's a shtickle suffix. Sleeping during the day is itself a suffix. So if you want to have in mind that this brachas I'm saying now at 1 a.m. should only be valid until and if I sleep again at night, this night, Mashinas Keva, some suggest you could do that. Mishnah Berurah doesn't mention that, but some suggest that you could do that. Okay.
Let's say somebody needs to take someone to the airport at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're intending, when they come back from the airport, they're going to go back to sleep. Should they say Birchas Hatorah at that time, or should they wait till the morning?
Well, so that touches on what we said before, and that'll be a segue to the next thing. We mentioned last week, we did mention, that although the Shulchan Aruch paskins at the beginning of the Siman, that one who thinks in learning, Siv Dalet, Hamahar b'divrei Torah, Eino tzarech levarich, thinking and learning doesn't require Birchas Hatorah, only speaking does. But we mentioned the Shita of the Vilna Gaon. Once again, the Vilna Gaon is cholik on the Shulchan Aruch here, and says even thinking and learning requires Birchas Hatorah. So if one could be Yotzi, that it's better, so perhaps Mistama on your trip, you're going to, maybe do some thinking and learning, and maybe you're going to talk and learning to your passenger, depending on maybe if it's your wife, not, or maybe even then, yes. But certainly if it's another man, who knows, you maybe, have some discussion in Talmud Torah. So then for sure, if you can have a discussion in Talmud Torah, for sure. And anyway, you say Birchas Hatorah, give you the opportunity, the ability to learn and to think and learning to be also the Chaladeis. And I want to add now, which we didn't talk about last week, and there's, what about listening to Divrei Torah? Not just thinking, but listening, like you're all doing right now. I'm speaking, and everybody is listening. I see everybody's listening. So the question is that Mechai Birchas Hatorah? As you get up in the morning, let's say, and you want to go to a shir right away, and you're a little bit late, and you want to catch the shir. So I have time. Birchas Hatorah, I like to say it. We learned last week. They say it b'simcha. I like to be mechaven. I don't have enough yeshiv and das now. I want to be on time for the shir. So I'll run to the shir and I'll listen to the shir. I don't usually, talk out during the shir. I'll listen to the one giving the shir, and then I'll say Birchas Hatorah afterwards. And I'll be so mecham. The mechaber says here doesn't require bracha, so perhaps this is only here. I'm not talking. So the Achronim say no. A number of the Shari Tshuva talks about this here, the Shari Tshuva on the Shulchan Aruch at the beginning of Mem Zayin, towards the beginning, and he brings from various Achronim that listening to Divrei Torah could be more chamor than thinking. It brings two reasons, or two reasons abroad. First of all, you may. Who says you're not going to speak? I mean, the Maggid Shir may say something so provocative that you're going to just jump up and say, 1 second, that doesn't make sense because XYZ. You may be able to tell yet. I mean, it depends on Maggid Shir, as I understand, but you never know. The Maggid Shir might provoke you to speak, even though you're one of the quiet guys in the Shir normally. Or maybe somebody next to you will say, I didn't understand. Could you just tell me quickly, what did he say? Did he say it's mutter or whatever? It may be like that. That's one thing. But besides that, there's another inyan, and that is perhaps that there's a din of Shomea Ka'ona. Then when you're sitting and listening, just like if somebody makes Kiddush and you're sitting and listening, you have the mind to be Yotzei Kiddush, so certainly you're sitting and listening, you have in mind to be Yotzei Divrei Torah. So perhaps there's a din of Shomea Ka'ona. And if there's a din of Shomea Ka'ona, then it's like you said it. So then it's more than just hear her. It's not hear. It's kedibur. It's ke'ona. It's like you said it. So if it's like you said it, you should have to make Birchas Hatorah. So that's two svaras already.
But if he's listening, isn't he learning while he's listening?
Yes. So you're saying a third svar. You're being mechaven to Shlomo Zon Arbach in Halicha Shlomo that he says We don't have to come on to Shomea Ka'ona. He says, listening, that's Gufa Shel Torah. How did Moshe keep Torah Sinai? And he told it over to Yeshua. I mean, that's learning. That's what learning is. A Rebbe speaks and the Talmid will listen, or one Chaver speaks and the other Chaver listens, and then maybe he responds. But about it, like we're hearing here. But when somebody talks and somebody else listens to his Torah, that is learning. So if out of there, say even if there's no Shomea Ka'ona, and now a nafkamina might be, what about if you listen to a recording? Like, getting back to your Shaila, you're on the way to the airport, so you put on a tape, whether it's a Halacha tape, it's a Hashkafa tape, but you're listening to the Torah, you're listening to one of the great speakers that we have. We have so many opportunities now to listen to things, whether it's on Torah anytime or numerous ways of listening to the Torah on recorded. So if it's al Shomea Ka'ona, Mamish Shomea Ka'ona, we know there's no Shomea Ka'ona from a recording. You can't be Yotze Kiddush or Megillah. You can't just play them. Even those who hold you can be Yotze Megillah over a microphone or over the telephone, which is highly controversial, and maybe we'll make another share out of that. But you certainly can't just play a recording of the Megillah, which is not live, and be Yotze. That for sure not. So there's no Shomea Ka'ona. So maybe if it's al Shomea Ka'ona, you wouldn't have to. And if it's ours, also even if it's ours, you might answer back. Probably not going to answer back to the recording because no matter how much it provokes you, I mean, no one's listening to you. So you're probably not going to answer back. But if it's ours, like Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's that, so maybe whether it's a live person or whether it's a recording, maybe that's good enough. And then on top of that, if you look in the Sefer Emes Liakov from Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky's on Shulchan Aruch, there's a piece there which he actually wrote. It's not just the notes on the bottom, which are B'Pi Shmua, but what he wrote is that he wants to say that it's yitachin that even else like Shomea Ka'ona, it would apply to a recording because it's not mamish. He seems to say you have to look at the piece there, but he refers to something he said in Maseches Brachos, which I didn't have, but it's not mamish. It didn't Shomea Ka'ona that you have to be Yotze, that type of Shomea Ka'ona. It's a Shomea Ka'ona that somebody speaks and you get credit for learning. It may be similar to Shlomo Zalman, something of those lines, but he uses the less Shomea Ka'ona, and he says even within the Shomea Ka'ona, it could be a recording is good enough. So therefore, if get up in the middle of the night to take someone to the airport, it probably could die to say Birchas Hatorah. This way, you could think of learning, you could listen to a shiur without any shalos, you could talk to somebody, if the person in the car, if it's safe to talk while you're whatever it is, while you're driving or before you're driving or whatever it is. So then you'd be able to do that. Just want to share with you. I'm not going to say b'shem omro b'davka because I'm not sure the person, a very chashuv person that said this, but I don't know if he would want me to say b'shem omro, especially on a shir that's being recorded. But it was going back to a Sheva Brachas. This is back in Chicago some years ago, and somebody made a Sheva Brachas on the night. It was December 24th at night, which some call Mittelnach, and some people don't learn that night. At least the Chatzos, whatever it is. So the first speaker, I wasn't at the Sheva Brachas, but I heard that the first speaker was a Rav of the Chassidish Rav, and he got misspoke. Said Hayosis is Nittelnach, so we don't learn. So I'm not going to say the Hatorah. I'll say a story, whatever it is. The next person got up, very chashuv Litvisha Gadol, and he said. He says, we have a different minhag that we do learn Nittel Nach, so I recommend if anybody out there has the minhag not to learn, just have in mind not to be Yotze. Okay, anyway, getting back here. Fine, so now, so we've discussed that inyan of what constitutes what kind of sleeping, when sleeping, and then we discussed the inyan of whether you should have to make brachas and just listening to Divrei Torah or thinking of Divrei Torah. Okay, now I'll share with you one more vart that I saw, I believe in the Sefer Talei Oros, a remez to the shita that says that the shita of the Mechaber, the remez the shita of the Mechaber that you don't have to say Birchas Hatorah unless you actually articulate the words, unless you speak out the words. What's the remez? If you look in Tehillim Kuf Yutes, Kapitel Kuf Yutes, which is the one that has the Aleph Beis, 8 psukim for each one. So in the psukim of Beis, there's a pasuk that says, blanking out now. Yes, thank you. Okay. There are 3 psukim in a row, which maramis to the shita that only if you articulate the words. Kuf Yud Ches, here we go. Kuf Yud Tes, rather. Did I say Kuf Yud Ches? Kuf Yud Tes. Kuf Yud Tes. The pasuk says, right, Belibi tzafanti imrasecha. In my heart, I have treasured and guarded your words. Laman lo echet halacha. In order that I shouldn't sin. Meaning to say, I'm not saying the Divrei Torah. Just I don't want to say. I didn't say Birchas Hatorah yet. So Belibi tzafanti, but I'm keeping it in my heart, just thinking and learning. Laman lo echet halacha. I shouldn't sin by learning from Birchas Hatorah. Then the next pasuk is Baruch Atah Hashem. Lamdeni chukecha. That's it. Shtickle Birchas Hatorah. Baruch Hashem lamdeni chukecha. Then the third pasuk, Bisvasai siparti. With my lips I have spoken out. Kol mishpatei ficha. Speaking with my lips. Now with my lips, because now I said Birchas Hatorah, I could say it with my lips. And by the way, that reminds me that again from the Piskei Teshuvos brings that the Sefer Lekeh Kemach HaChadash brings from the Sefer Or Chadash that if a person does sleep during the day, he gives an eitzah that at least when you wake up, if you're not going to say Birchas Hatorah, at least say the two psukim. Gal einai ve'abit niflaos misara secha, Baruch atah Adonai lamdeni chukecha. So you say those two psukim, Gal einai ve'abit niflaos, which is and like a bakash, and then Baruch atah the pasuk in Tehillim, and Kuf Yud Tes, Baruch atah Adonai lamdeni chukecha. So he says you could. It's like an episode form of Birchas Hatorah. You could say without getting into a shala bracha levatala.
Isn't Gal Einai also Divrei Torah? So you should say the Lamdeni Chukecha before.
Okay, but well, you're not with that. You're not Yossi with that alone. So he's going lefi the sheet that we're assuming the Ikar Din that you shouldn't say the brachas. It's just l'Rav Chadamilsa at least. So you gain at least with that. Okay. Now I want to discuss the following new point. New point in Birchas Hatorah. We know the Birchas Hatorah consists of two or some call it three brachas, right? The bracha of Asher Kashem Slips and Lachs B'Divrei Torah V'Haravna, which ends Baruch Hashem Alam Yitala Yisrael, and then Asher Bachar Banu. The question is the order Ma'akev. What happens if I said first Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Amim and also Baruch Hashem Lo Yisen Hatorah, and then I realized that I didn't say the other thing first. I didn't say the other brachas. I forgot. Again, for shlafim maybe in the morning or whatever. My siddur was missing that. Then I realized, right, there's something wrong here. I said the second one first. Can I say Asher Kshadim Sadu after Asher Bachar Banu? So Rabbi Feinstein in a tshuva in the first chelik of Orach Chaim Simchaf Aleph, he doesn't ask the question head on. But he's discussing an Indian of Birchas Hatorah, and in that tshuva he works with the assumption that you cannot say it out of order. Because he explains that once you said Asher Bachar Banu, then that is more encompassing. You yod say everything. Lechatchila, they made a seder to say it in dargis. First you say Asher Kashem Slips, you say, and you yod say part, and then Asher Bachar Banu finishes it off. But if you said, excuse me, but if you said Asher Bachar Banu alone, you already yod say. It's medamet to what we have in Birchas HaShachar in the morning. For the most part, when you say the list of Birchas HaShachar in the morning, the Seder is not Ma'akev. If you said the bracha, Oter Yisrael B'Sifara, and then I skipped Ozer Yisrael B'Gvura, so go ahead, say Ozer Yisrael B'Gvura. Not to make a difference. If you said Mal B'Sharuma, you said, I didn't say Pokei Achivim yet. Say Pokei Achivim, no problem. But the two of them where the Seder is Ma'akev. Matir Asurim, and Zokif Kefufim. Once you said Zokif Kefufim, you cannot say Matir Asurim. Why? Because Matir Asurim refers to the fact that Hashem lets me sit up in bed. Hashem unbounds those who are tired. I'm tied up in my bed, from the Chevlei Shena. I wake up, Baruch Hashem, I could sit up. Matir Asurim, Hashem unbound me. And then I stand up, Zokif Kefufim. But once I've stood up already, or once I've said the bracha on standing up, Zokif, thank Hashem for letting me stand up, that already includes thanking Hashem for letting me sit up so you can't say it. That's as I stated in Poskim. So Zakar Maisha, the same thing is true here. Once you said Asher Bachar Banu, it includes the other thing. However, a number of other chonim say that you can. The order is not Ma'akev. You could say, you said Asher Bachar Banu, you could still say this. And they bring a raya. They bring a raya from the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Kuf Lamed Tes in the halachas of Kriyas Hatorah, where it says in Siman Kuf Lamed Tes, it says that, let's say a person in Sif Tes, let's say a person comes into shul, and he walked in rather late, or he walked in nice and early for the next minyan, and he's going to daven in the next minyan. And this minyan is up to Kriyas Hatorah, and they see him walk in, and right away they say Yamod, and they call him up. He hasn't said Birchas Hatorah yet. He was about this. He didn't say it, even though he walked into shul. But he didn't say Birchas Hatorah yet, and they call him up for an aliyah, and so he has to go right away for an aliyah. So it says that when you get an aliyah, you say Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Amim V'Nasan L'Star Baruch Hashem Lo Yisen Hatorah. You say that bracha. So it says say that bracha, and you get your aliyah, and then afterwards you say the other bracha or the other brachos, ones that Asher Kachanu, those lines you say afterwards. So it says Mefurish in the Tila David. I saw it quoted. It says this raya, and the others say this raya that once, even though you said Asher Baruch Habana, you could still say the other brachas. So they say it's not ma'akev. The order is not ma'akev, and if I think you can say Mefurish raya. So what does Moshe doesn't discuss that in the Tshuva as far as I can see. So what does Moshe do with that? Mefurish raya. So I don't have a full answer. But I was thinking that perhaps Michel will say that it's different when you said Asher Bachabanu, not just for yourself, for your own birchas. You said it because you got an aliyah. You said it to be, for the din of the kavod tzibur. So maybe that, although you're yotzei that part of it, avada, you don't have to repeat Asher Bachabanu afterwards for yourself. But maybe that's not enough to be so broad and all-encompassing. You said it for kavod tzibur, perhaps that limits it somewhat and makes it that it in that situation it doesn't include the first bracha, and you still say the first bracha. Maybe that's where Moshe would respond. I'm not sure. So again, it's an avada, the Asher Bachabanu part of it, you're yotzei, but perhaps that's not enough to be called the first bracha, and you still say it. Masha'enkein, a person who himself just said it out of order, when he said Asher Bachabanu first, would not be able to say the bracha. I'm not sure. If anybody has a different issue, I'd be happy to hear. But I just want to add one more thing on this basic topic. There's another Ramosha on this topic, and that is this. You see, Matar Asurim is Okif Kufufim Dashteit. That's not Ramosha's Chiddush, that you can't say those out of order. But there's another in Sheva Brachas. In general, the Sheva Brachas under the chuppah at a chasna or at a Sheva Brachas Su'uda at someone's house, the brachas aren't the order is not ma'akev. If the first person got up, instead of saying Shakol Bar L'Chvodo, he said Yotzer Ha'adam, you could still say Shakol Bar L'Chvodo. Or if you said Samech T'Samech Reya Mahuvim before saying Sos Tasis V'Sagal Akara, no problem. The next person just says that bracha. The announcer is going to get good and confused. But other than that, it's not a problem. Just say the one you missed. But says Ramosha, there are two of them where the order is ma'akev, and that is there's a bracha Shemachem Melcham Yotzer Ha'adam. And the next one is Baruch Hashem Makein Machlam Asher Yotzar Sa'adam Et Salmo B'Tzelem Dusani. So this one is Baruch Hashem Yotzar Adam. So Moshe says, if you already said the second one, the longer one, the Asher Yotzar Sa'adam Et Salmo, and which concludes with Baruch Hashem Yotzar Adam, you can no longer say Yotzar Adam. That's what Moshe says. I don't know if this is in print. I don't remember now if this is in print. Perhaps it is. I don't remember right now. But it's definitely said B'Shem Moshe.
That would be only if the same person saying all the brachas.
No.
We're talking about another person saying the bracha.
But even so, there's only the chiyuv is only machmas l'chasan and kala, right? You can't just say those brachas, in the Velter. So the chiyuv is only like l'mashal. Once somebody said Yotzer Adam, somebody else can't get up and say I want to say it, and I'll say it, and only one person. So once one person said Asher Yotzar, if that's Kollel Yotzer Adam, then nobody can say Yotzer Adam. Okay, so. So that's all right. So I heard there was I wasn't again there, but in Chassid in Chicago once where this happened, and the person who was called up was supposed to say Yotzer Adam, and by mistake he said Asher Yotzer Adam that, and at that Chassid both the good Dayan from Chicago, Shmuel First, who was a Talmud Moshe and learned by Moshe, was there and was present, and also was the Chassid that was from Toronto, so a guy Shlomo Miller was there. And I heard that there was a difference of opinion between these two Gedolim as to what should happen now, whether they should. We were first saying he said that's it, you can't say it. Or Moshe Psak, you can't say it's Adam. And I was told that Shlomo Miller held otherwise, that you still could say it. But look, it was Chicago, so the Agudah Dayan Chicago Paskin. So I was told they did not say it. They did not say they skipped that bracha. They did not say the bracha Yotzer Adam. Kach Shamati. Okay. Now. Moving on, let me just get a time check here. We're still okay.
Can you make clarification on the Asher Yatzar, and then whether we say Elokai right after that, or just go into the
okay.
and then say Elokai?
No, the first way. The question is that when a person says the bracha Asher Yatzar in the morning, after waking up and relieving himself, it is preferable to continue right away with Elokai Neshama, because Elokai Neshama should preferably be a bracha smucha lechaverta. So it should come preferably after you say Baruch Atah Hashem Rofeichol Basar Maflil Asos. Elokai Neshama should have to be. That's the better way to do it, and then to say Birchas Hatorah. That's what's brought in. Okay. Now, I mentioned before we discussed the idea that one who could be Yotzi Birchas Hatorah with the bracha at Marav of Avos Olam. So there are some Gedolim, some poskim that recommend that there's one time in everyone's life when you should do this for Shabbos. We said where it's nogea perhaps if you slept during the day, so you have an opportunity to be Yotzi Birchas. If you're not going to say Birchas on your own, you have an opportunity at Marav to have in mind. But some poskim say that every bar mitzvah boy, the day that he turns bar mitzvah, meaning he turned bar mitzvah, let's say on Tesva of Kislev. So in the morning he woke up Tesva of Kislev. He woke up Yudal at Kislev in the morning, and he was still a katan. And he said Birchas Hatorah. Then at night, the night of Tesva of Kislev, he becomes bar mitzvah. The way we paskin, it doesn't have to be me'es la'es. Even if he was born at 2 in the morning, Tesva of Kislev. No, but we paskin l'halach. He becomes bar mitzvah at nightfall, whatever you define nightfall of Tesva of Kislev. So at Tesva of Kislev, now that he's a gadol, so it could be that the Birchas Hatorah he said in the morning are not valid for him anymore, because he was a katan when he said it. And it could be that the brachas of a katan are not motzi a gadol, even though he's the same person. He's the same person. And this is a discussion in poskim by various cases. As a discussion if a person ate a suda right before he turned bar mitzvah, and he didn't bench yet. And then it turns dark. The question is he chayiv now to bench min Hatorah? Or it's a different shayla. It's a different shayla. Okay, but here the shayla is that he said the bracha already. You see there the shayla would be if he did bench, he ate the suda and benched, is he chayiv to bench again? But here the shayla is Birchas Hatorah. So we don't tell a boy to say Birchas Hatorah again, but some say, and it's brought down for the Shas Shuvas Eretz Tzvi, and they say that the Brisker Rav, I heard in the name of the Brisker Rav as well, I'll tell you in a moment, I'll elaborate in a moment on that they said, yes, you should tell a bar mitzvah boy to have in mind the Marav. Have in mind the Marav to be Yotzi Birchas Hatorah, just in case the brachos in the morning weren't motzi him anymore now that he's a gadol. Shlomo Zalman also says to do this in Halicha Shlomo. Now, Mishnah Berurah does not bring this now. In fact, the Mishnah Berurah is searching for a case. Where is it going to be nogeya that Avos Olam is patas you at Marav, Yotzi Birchas? Why do you have a need to be Yotzi at Marav, Yotzi in the morning? So he doesn't say this case. Mishnah Berurah doesn't say this case. So I don't know. Perhaps he held differently. Some hold that Avada the katan's Yotzi. He's Yotzi with the brachas in the morning. It's motzi him, even though now he's a gadol. But Avada he's motzi himself. But what I want to say from the Brisker Rav at the end of the shir last week, somebody had asked. If we said that by saying Kriya Shema, that's not sufficient, Pasha is not sufficient. So somebody asked, what happened? Could you just repeat a pasuk? Say Kriya Shema and then repeat the last pasuk. You said it already for the mitzvah Kriya Shema. Now say the last pasuk over again. Taras Divrei Torah. And I said that I didn't think that would be appropriate, because if you're in the middle of davening, you can't just say a pasuk l'shem limud Hatorah in the middle of davening, even if it's Kriya Shema that you have to say anyway. But you said it, so just to repeat a pasuk, I didn't think that was right. So Rabbi Moshe David Price was here then at the end of the shir, and he told me afterwards that once before Rabbi Moshe Francis, one of the Rosh Kollel from Chicago, spoke here in the North Miami Beach Kollel, and at Shal Shudis, and he said over that the Brisker Rav once gave this eitzah, or maybe more than once. I mean, he would do it often, always to a bar mitzvah bacher, that when he's turning 13, he should have in mind at Marav Taka to be Yotzei Birchas Hatorah, and he should repeat a pasuk in Kriya Shema, repeat the last pasuk in Kriya Shema, so that he could be Yotzei Divrei Torah. An extra pasuk, Kriya Shema, then plus an extra pasuk, l'shem Divrei Torah. He told me that Rabbi Francis said that the Brisker Rav Taka gave this eitzah. So I called Rabbi Francis last night to confirm, and he confirmed. He confirmed that he actually said that. Brisker Rav, he didn't remember on the spot where the makar was. He said you have to look up his notes, so I don't, the makar. But he confirmed that he did say that. I'm sure he saw it in a reliable source if he said it over. So the Brisker Rav, we see not only did he hold that the bar mitzvah boy should try to be as Birchas Hatorah, but he held that repeating a pasuk would be okay. Okay, let's say the last main topic we'll discuss here in Birchas Hatorah is, Bez Hashem, for now at least, is about women. Are women obligated in Birchas Hatorah? Now, we know that women are not chayiv, by and large, in Talmud Torah. They don't have the mitzvah of a gisa b'yom of a laila, of a vishnantam levanecha. they're not mechuyev to learn. Certainly not the way a man is mechuyev to learn, and you'll see why I'm qualifying my words in a moment. But the Mechaber says in the last sif in the Siman Mem Zayin, Nashim mevarchas Birchas Hatorah. Women do recite Birchas Hatorah. The Bir Halacha gives two possible reasons for that. Reason number one, he says, is because they are chayiv lilmod hadinim shalahem. That's why I was saying they're not chayiv to learn the way of man, but they're chayiv lilmod hadinim shalahem. They have to learn the halachas that a woman has to know, which are manyfold. A woman's chayiv in practically every mitzvah's los, I say, that a man is chayiv, and many mitzvahs to say as well. So there's plenty they have to learn. They have to learn all about Hilchos Shabbos and many other things. So they're chayiv to learn those dinim. So Mamela, there is a gather of Talmud Torah there that they're chayiv in. That's one reason. And second reason he brings is that the Vilna Gaon disagrees with that, but says the reason is because it's no worse than any other mitzvah cessation as man grama. That a woman, we're knowing that a woman makes a bracha. A woman wants to take a little of an esrog, she can make a bracha. Asher kedeshanu b'mitzvos, even though she's not mechuyev, but she can still say Asher Kadosh Baruch Hu is mekadeshes with his mitzvahs, v'tzivanu al netilas lulav. Or other mitzvahs to say that she does, the leisha basukah. So a woman could do this, and she can perform these mitzvahs and even make a bracha. So zaktiv Vilna Gaon. So it's lo garam mizeh. It's not worse than that. She can make a bracha also. And she should. Therefore, women should say Birchas Hatorah. Zaktiv Bir Halacha. What nafkamina will come out between these two reasons? So he says the nafkamina will be: could a woman be motzi a man with Birchas Hatorah? Could a woman say, like you came? You were up all night. You're up all night. It's not Shavuos. So you're up all night, and you didn't, you have a suffix. Could you say Birchas Hatorah night? So your wife wasn't up all night. She's up now. So could she make Birchas Hatorah be motzi you? So the Bir Halacha says, like the first reason, that it's also that she's chayiv in Talmud Torah. So yeah, she's chayiv in Talmud Torah. You're chayiv in Talmud Torah. It's a great shidduch. She can be motzi you with Birchas Hatorah.
If she has no intention of learning during the day.
Well, but she'll learn right away. Yivarach Hashem Yishmecha. She'll do that like a man does.
Okay.
Yeah, just like a man does. Yeah. So, but says that, but if it's like the Vilna Gaon's reason, that is because it's a mitzvah seshel grama. Women can make a bracha on that. So zok the Mishnah Berurah. So then, but then she's not chayav. Not chayiv, she's allowed to. Nashim mevarchas Birchas Hatorah. She could make Birchas Hatorah, but she wouldn't be chayiv to. She's not chayiv to. She can't be motzi you. A person who's not chayiv b'davar cannot be motzi a person who is chayiv b'davar, even if they're doing it. Just like she can't make the bracha al netilas lulav and be motzi her husband or anybody else with that bracha because she's not chayiv the mitzvah. She can't be motzi a person who's chayiv with the mitzvah with the bracha. So therefore. Says this, so that'll be nafkamina. So like the first reason, he says the Pri Megadim seems to say is that she could be motzi a man because based on the first reason, but like the Vilna Gaon, she would not be able to. That's what the Halacha says. Now there's a kasha though that some ask that the Vilna Gaon says the reason is because it's no worse than any other zman grama that the woman can make a bracha. So that's fine. That's how we paskin, we Ashkenazim. But the sheet of the Rambam is not that way. There are shittas that say that no, that women cannot make a bracha on a mitzvah such as man grama. They cannot. If they're not chayiv in the mitzvah, they cannot make a bracha on the mitzvah. So how is it going to shtim like that? How is this psak going to shtim like that? Like that shita. So what I'm about to say doesn't necessarily have to flow from that kasha, and it doesn't necessarily flow from that kasha, but there's another concept just to share with you, and we'll conclude with this, that the whole shaila, we make more than one bracha. So what's the mahus of these brachas? The first one seems to be a brachas a mitzvah. But what about a shabbat chabanu? What kind of bracha is that? Is that a brachas a mitzvah? Is it a brachas shevach? So what is it exactly? So the Brisker Rav brings in his Sefer on the Rambam, B'Shem his father, the Reb Chaim Brisker, that Birchas Hatorah, it's not so much a bracha on the mitzvah, but that the chefza of Torah requires a bracha. Such a lashon that the Torah requires a bracha, not else the mitzvah shabo, but Torah requires a bracha. He doesn't explain exactly what that means. I think perhaps it means something me'ein a birchas nehenin. Mamash a birchas nehenin, but maybe that's sort of a thing, that bracha that you make before you partake of food, before you enjoy food. So Torah needs a bracha maybe in that sense. Not sure exactly. But I think he does use that to explain why women would make a bracha, even like the Rambam, the women can't make a bracha on mitzvah shezek Rama, but Zek Reb Chaim they can make the bracha anyway because the chefza of Torah requires a bracha. Thank you very much, everyone.
Did you say some of this stuff? I knew something sounded familiar. I'm not such a bucket. I remember the Kufya Test,
Yeah, that part is
I remember, and Rabbi Yaakov's name also from that. Rabbi Yaakov. Okay.